This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised. Good morning and welcome everybody to the Sunrise Safari here from the western fringes of the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. My name is James Henry, David is on camera and we are hot on the trail. Well, maybe not so hotly, it's 9 degrees Celsius here. We are on the trail of a female leopard who came wandering past here at some stage during the night. Lauren's also up top having a look. Now remember, you may talk to us using the email address kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. We'd love to hear from you, our younger viewers, for the next 45 minutes or so. And after that, your parents can have at us. It was very cold today. Well, I mean, for us it's very cold. But it promises to be a crisp, lovely, clear morning once the sun finally gets up, which shouldn't be too long from now. So we're just going to do a quick search around the top here. I don't know when this leopard walked past here. And so we'll have a look and then we'll go up towards where we heard some lions calling. But, you know, while we are hacking around here, Eric got out of bed probably much earlier than we did, and he's already managed to have some success.
Good morning everybody and welcome to andBeyond and Ngala. My name is Eric and Marcel is behind camera. We have started off the day exceptionally well. Look what's right in front of the vehicle. Incredible how quickly we've started and how well we've started our day. It's amazing. We just found this leopard walking on the road, ducked off the road, and it was stopping, doing exactly this. So it was just listening, it was waiting. So we think that's it might be, see how alert it looks every now and again. So it stops and listens, ears pointed forward. And so it might just be moving through this area looking for a last little opportunity to hunt. And now I haven't really got a good view of the face yet. So I'm not entirely sure who it is and which leopard it might be. But hopefully we get to follow it for a little bit and we'll be able to figure it out together. Yeah, thanks everyone. It's just one of those unique moments where we're coming into the area to specifically look for this leopard, and there she was in the middle of the road. So it was quite a special moment. Okay, so whilst we're watching, literally all we've been seeing is her or it walking away from us. And it does look, the tail's a little bit obscure, so I can't see between the legs. I mean, it's quite tricky to tell the difference between a couple of the leopards in this area. There's a female with a young cub who hangs around this area, and then there's also that young male leopard we've seen a few times on the show already. So they're both pretty similar in height and size. Can you see her? Okay, cool. There we go. Alright, oh, it's moving through some beautiful long grass. It's just about to come onto the road, so I'm going to try and see if I can sneak onto the road. Ah, okay. I got a quick glimpse of the face, and I think it actually might be that young male leopard that we've been seeing. This is just a thorn tree, Marcel, so just be careful. Hey? Yeah, the one on the left. I'm going to squeeze through this tight gap. Okay, we all clear? It beat us to the road, unfortunately, but you'll get a nice side profile now. There we go. Yo, that is a beautiful shot. And just look at the size of its paws. So it's got a lot of growing to do. That's how we can tell it's a young male. Let's get onto the road. Yeah, so it's not that female that I was actually thinking about. It's a young male. Sure, everyone might recognize the name Makoti male, so this is that exact same leopard. And I haven't really seen him this far east before, at least in a long while. He's just maybe listening to something. No. So Hamshini, you've asked a very good question all the way from India, and asking what it means by when we're calling an animal dominant. And there's a hyena coming. Look at this. It just literally lay down on its belly. Here comes a hyena. The hyena's seen the leopard. Hamshini, I'll get to your question now. Let's just see what happens. That is an amazing view. Hyena's not interested. Amazing. As soon as the hyena ducked into the grass, the leopard stood up and started walking. Wow. And that was such a nice frame of the leopard in the foreground and the hyena looking. That this young male's still kind of watching and being inquisitive. And it knows that the hyena is a potential threat, but because it doesn't have any food around, it's probably not worth the effort for the hyena to chase the leopard, and so they'll literally just cross paths like that. It was a very, very cool moment. So Hamshini, and now it's decided to run away. I wonder what's coming down the road. Another hyena. Yeah, I wonder if maybe this one's bigger, maybe it got intimidated that there's now two hyenas. See, it's darting into the bushes. There's even a third hyena coming. It must be quite overwhelming for this young leopard. And look at that hyena, how its tail's lifted up. So that's a sign of excitement. It might have even seen or smelt that leopard. And look where they're heading, straight towards where that leopard went into the bushes. I can't see the leopard anymore. I would imagine that it just ran for cover. And there's to the right of us, and there's a very, very dense thicket that I'm sure that leopard decided to duck into. I mean, they've got their heads low down to the ground, that one on the right hand side, so it's got the scent of that leopard now. I'm sure that male would have ducked into the bushes and got another one coming. This one might be the same one, the first one that we originally saw. Yeah. I'm gonna wipe the lens. Marcel's just wiping the lens. There's a bit of dust or mist. Yeah, family James, definitely. They are, leopard, 3 hyenas. They've definitely, I wonder, they're just ending their night, I suppose. So these hyenas were probably on their way towards a den site, happened to smell that leopard and try to follow the scent to see if it would lead them somewhere. There's one hyena, this one coming straight towards us, that's, I think, maybe lost a bit of interest. So Hamshi, when we refer to dominant animals, it tends to be more in big groups, like these hyenas. So the dominant one is basically the one, this is awesome, the one that's in control and in charge. And so there'll be a dominant female in this clan of hyenas, which we call a matriarch. And she's in control of the whole clan. For leopards, for an example, there's more. All 3 of them now have decided to give up on following that hyena. That leopard. I love how they just watch us. And that's why we're not really starting the engine or doing anything. Yeah, Marcel said that he didn't shower last night, and I didn't want to say anything to him, but the hyena's given it away. going to creep a little bit more forward just to see if we can see any sign of that leopard. He was walking straight down the road, so there's a possibility that he just tried to do a loop around these hyenas and went straight back onto the road. You can see I'm wearing gloves this morning. It is absolutely freezing. So Advic, you've asked a question if leopards hunt hyenas, and they don't. It's probably the other way around, actually. If hyenas get the opportunity to kill and eat a leopard, they will. Otherwise, leopards will try and steer clear away from hyenas. And the reason being is that hyenas tend to outweigh leopards, so they can't really defend themselves nicely in a fight. And there's often more hyenas. I mean, we've just seen it was 3 hyenas versus 1 leopard. And that's just too much for a leopard to even try and get involved with those hyenas. Yeah, exactly. There's even hyenas might even go and attack lions sometimes, which are weigh about 4 or 5 times bigger than what this leopard might. I don't see anything on the road yet. So what we might do is there's a road that almost runs parallel to this, and it's on the other side of these dense bushes. If we drive through here, we will never really be able to keep up with that leopard. So maybe it's decided just to literally cross this dense section, get onto the road and continue walking down in the direction that we're moving towards. So we'll try and loop around. So whilst we're looping around and seeing if we can give you another view of this leopard, we'll go and see what Lauren is up to for the morning.
Board to your sunrise safari that is absolutely freezing at the moment. BK and I have been, wow, we're very wrapped up, shall I say. My name is Lauren, and of course BK is on camera. Now, I've been working with James because James has been searching for a leopard, but I have found tracks for a lion pride, and there's a lot of them. So BK, if you just want to follow these tracks, you can see small ones, medium-sized individuals, big individuals.
Lauren, you follow this.
Lauren?
I'll go
Adults.
around the
Link to
Sorry.
wild dogs
Wild dogs, where?
in Ngala.
In Ngala. You're going to Wild Dogs with Ngala.
This morning is just getting more and more crazy. We were driving looking for this leopard and these wild dogs just appeared in front of us. This is incredible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them so far.
The bush shall provide.
This is so exciting because it looks like they're on the move. They're looking like they're moving with intent. And so they could be looking for something to hunt. There's a few younger ones. You can just see in their facial features, they're a little bit smaller. I wonder if this isn't a sub-adult group. Yeah, this is quite a start. Sheepers, creepers. Oh, is there, oh, sorry, I didn't see that one. It was, the tracker seat was hiding it. I don't want to start and move around too much just in case this one gets separated from the rest. So as soon as this one crosses and moves past us, we might turn around and see if we can follow them. This is absolutely incredible. I mean, 3 of some of Africa's most iconic predators all within the space of a few minutes of one another. Leopard, hyena, wild dog. And just by pure chance we managed to find these ones. So now if they happen to find the scent of that leopard, I wouldn't imagine okay, so saying all we need is a lion and a cheetah and then we can retire early. But I don't think these wild dogs would react as much as the hyenas would to that leopard. maybe because they haven't seen it, so they might not know how fresh the scent is. And then also they seem to be wanting to get to a point, so they might just kind of sniff around on the ground where he ducked off into the bush. This one looks like it's picking up a stick. And just look at their bodies. I mean, these ones in particular have got very, very long, lanky legs and very small bodies. And that's why I say they look like they are sub-adults. They've got a very distinctive smell. This one is like the one with the shortest attention span. It's just can't focus on anything. That one. Yeah. Lauren, you're 6 years old from New Zealand, and you're asking how many puppies a wild dog will have. It's a very good question, because we think that it's coming to the time where we might see some wild dog puppies eventually. So in the last 5 or 6 years or so, the wild dogs that we've seen in this area have given birth on, I think, between the 8th and the 12th of May. Pretty much 5 out of the 6 years that they have been denning on the property. And the pack in particular that we've seen, she's been giving birth to quite small litters. And so the biggest one that she's given birth to is 9. The highest recorded litter, which was also a pack on Ngala, I think, or at least one of the highest, I don't know if it was the highest, was 17 puppies by one female. Can you just imagine how it would feel carrying 17 little puppies in one stomach? I would say the average litter size might be from about 6 to 10 would be my best bet. Yep. So they've actually just darted straight off into the bushes where we found that leopard originally. You still see them? Okay, are they going parallel or? Straight out, okay. No way. So this morning is getting even better. Lauren has got a very cool surprise, so let's go and see what she's got.
Good morning, everybody. Imagine being that little cub with your head on the bottom. I think we have our Djuma Pride, a pride of lions we have not seen in a very long time. Hello, guys. I want to be this cub with his head right down here and everybody on top of me. Yes, please. Look how cozy it looks. Oh. Right off Waterhole access. James was actually going to look for lions. I was going to go south. And then when you wake up in the morning, plans change. James found leopard tracks, fresh, which means you've got to get moving. You've got to go and find that leopard. I found lion tracks, and they're really not far from camp, everyone. They are about 200 meters away from camp, would you say, BK? Yeah, 200 meters, 600 feet, and they're right off the side of the road. So we're going to limit all movement on the vehicle and make sure that we really don't move. We were just driving, and all I hear is BK say, lions! And they're right off the side of the road, so I'm going to keep my voice nice and low, and we're going to try and not move on the vehicle. Good morning, everyone. I need to ask you all a very serious question. Why have you been hiding from us? Our Djuma Pride are the most dominant lion pride in the area. And Djuma, our game reserve, is very much their territory. Very, very much their territory. And they've not been here for a really long time. So I can only see 3 adults. And what's this woman, this female doing up here? I haven't seen the whole pride together in quite a while. From where we're sitting right now, I can only see 3 adults, but I'll do a proper count a little bit later. I haven't seen you cubs in so long, I don't recognize any of you. Zach, in Toronto, you're asking, why do lions groom one another? Call one another, sorry. Well, they are social animals. They're the actually only social cat of the bushveld. They need one another. They need to know where one another... Oh, sorry, I've just noticed the condition of this little cub. He's very mangy. Just why he's been itching. Sorry, this is the first time I've seen these cubs in a really long time, Zach. So, lion prides will split up. It's completely normal for them to split up. They don't always stay together. But when they split up, they need to know where one another is. When you do, they need to know where one another are, and they do this through vocalizations and through scent. They'll be able to smell one another, but they'll also be able to hear one another. So they call, and they have very special voice boxes. My voice box is currently not working, which is designed to really announce their presence. It vibrates in their throat, if you like, and it sends the vocalization very far and very wide. And this is to allow it to travel great distances so they can hear one another. They need to know where each other are. They're a pride. They're not like a leopard that is solitary and completely on their own. They're a pride. They're a cohesive unit. Oh, God, goodness, look at that beaky. Oh. A cohesive unit that need one another, and therefore that's why they call. And they were heard calling this morning. We could hear them from camp, but I did not realize that they were this close. I thought that they were maybe on the western edge. James was going to check Sandy Patch, but they're actually really close to our camp, so that's why they call, Zach. Oh, look at these cubbies. I don't know what we should call this, everyone. We need to come up with a collective noun for this cubbies. Westu, age 5. Yes, that's exactly what they're doing. They're cuddling to keep warm. It's so cold. BK's got 3 layers on. I have 5 layers on. Can you believe it? Yes, everyone, I have 5 layers. I had my gloves on. I've also got my sugar here, my Kenyan sugar that some of you will recognize over my lap. James has a hat, fluffy blanket. It's cold. So if I was a lion, I would also be snuggling to keep warm. So cute. Very, very cute. But yes, body heat, of course, with mammals will help keep them warm. Now, collective nouns, everyone, is a noun, as I'm sure you know, a naming word back in the day at school, and is used to describe a collection of animals. And I think we need to come up with a very creative idea, everyone, for this snuggle, huggle, buggle of cubs. Send in your suggestions. What can we call them? It's not going to be the official name, for sure. But let's come up with a collective noun. Oh, Nikki, you're saying a cuddle. Cubble. I love it. A cuddle of cubbles. Did I just ruin your suggestion? Possibly. Okay, I love it. A couple. BK, what do you think? BK likes it. Yeah, he's got his thumb up. I like a cuddle of cubbles. Oh, I had no idea they were at the side of the road. I had my head down looking for tracks. So your head's down on the ground, and obviously BK shouts, "Lion!" And here they are. It's so good to see them. It's been a very long time. I think Owen and I were the last ones to find the Angohumas, but they were sadly on Little Gowrie. It wasn't the entire pride. I didn't get to see the cubbies. Oh, Rikio, you're 12 years old from New Jersey, and you're asking a really good question. BK's framing it up perfectly. You're asking about that white line that's under their eyes. Looks like they've almost put white eyeliner on. I'm not sure if any of you will know what that is. It's probably from the 90s and should not be worn ever again. Yes, I used to. And leopards also have it. What it does is help reflect the light. So it assists them during nighttime vision. So it's very subtle. Good morning. It's very, very subtle, but it assists with reflecting the light back into their eye. So most predators and a lot of other mammals actually have a very special layer on their eye called the tapetum lucidum. And this helps reflect light twice onto the retina to allow them to have better vision at night. Humans don't have this, which is why we're so terrible at fumbling around in nighttime. But animals do. And this white line that they have also helps assist with reflecting the light back into their eye. But if we see a leopard, I know there's a leopard over in Ngala, you'll also be able to take a closer look and see that they have this too. It's not just lions. I'm loving this cuddle of cubbles. I don't actually know how many. I haven't even done a count. Shall we do a count, everyone? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do you see another cubby over here? Okay, Beaky's got another one. So I think that there must be 8 here. And then BK says there's another one over there that I actually can't see. So that's 9. That's all 9 cubs. Here on Djuma. What a way to start this morning. I really hope James finds a leopard. Josh, you are 15 from Australia and you are asking how old are all these lion cubs? Okay, they're all different, and because they're in a big puddle of cuddles, I can't actually pinpoint who is who. But the first litter that was born in May 2019, and that was from the mother lioness called Ridgenose, who I also can't see right now because I can just see tawny bodies. So she had 2 boys. And that would make them 1 year now. Oh my goodness. My goodness, that's the first time I've said that. Time flies. So the biggest cubs that you will see will be 2 males. And they will be 1 year old. Then the next set of cubs that came along was from a female called Amber Eyes, a very iconic, famous female in this pride. And she had 3 boys at the very start of August. So that would make 8 months old, roundabout. No, sorry, she had 3 females and 1 male. Sorry, I'm thinking of the next litter. I apologise. She had 3 females and 1 male at the beginning of July, Amber Eyes. July, so that would make them just short of a year. And then Purple Eye had 3 boys. I apologise. A lioness called Purple Eye, who, believe it or not, has a purple eye, had 3 boys. And her litter was at the start of August. I got a little bit muddled up there. But she actually lost one. One disappeared at the start of December. So they're mixed ages. They're all from last year. And the youngest lioness that we have called Chella, a beautiful lioness, actually had 4 cubs. And she was also presumed to lose 3, I'm afraid. So there's currently 9 in total, and there's 4 different age groups, from a year old is the oldest, all the way down to about 5 months old. There's a collection of age groups there. You see this lioness right here, lion or lioness here, looks very pale compared to the others. I don't know if you would agree with me, but I think this little cubby looks very pale. Not quite the white lines that you get at Ngala, but yes, it does have quite a whitish face. Callum, you are 16 years old and you're asking about mange, scarcoptic mange. And you're asking if one lion gets it, will they all get it? Most likely, yes. It's highly contagious. It's a skin condition that's caused by a little mite, a tiny, tiny little mite, and it's very, very contagious. So it's a skin disease that spreads rapidly. And the mite is called the Scarcoptes scabies, which also produces scabies in humans, and it's an arachnid. It's a little arachnid in the same family as scorpions and ticks and spiders. So it's found all across the animal kingdom, and the little mites embed themselves in the skin, right into the hair follicle, and it irritates the animals so badly that they start to scratch and they start to lose condition. So normally this can get flushed out at the start of summer when all the rains come. But what's a little bit worrying, if these cubs are suffering from severe mange, is that we're now going into the sort of heart of winter. And that is slightly worrying. So yes, it will spread. It can spread from one individual all the way through the cubs and the adults quite rapidly. It's highly, highly contagious. And it won't necessarily kill the animal, but it can lead to things that will. For example, it can cause infections, lesions, skin infections, dehydration. It compromises the immune system, and therefore that can essentially kill the individual at the end of the day. Can really weaken them to a point where they're so compromised that they can't survive anymore. But I haven't seen these cubbies in this state, but I have heard that they all have got mange, which makes me very, very sad. So we're going to stay here and not move, enjoy watching our couple. And as we do that, we're going to send you back across to James for an update on his leopard search.
We went up to the northern boundary in expectation of perhaps finding the lion tracks, and then Lauren found them, which is great. And so now we've come back down towards our leopard tracks, and we haven't got our leopard tracks just yet. Okay, but we have got some birds, some starlings. It's a chilly day.
It's not zooming.
It's not zooming. All right, well, we'll just have wide safaris today then. Maybe we should link away while we fix this problem, if that's possible, Kirsten. Can we do that? All right, let's get back to Lauren. We'll sort out our camera.
Okay, sorry about this. I don't know what's going on with James's camera. One of the cubs is... Oh, yes. BK, can we just zoom into the coat on that cub that's sitting up, please? Just want to have a little look at their condition. Can we go a little bit closer to the hair? Yeah, they are looking a little bit mangy. It's not too severe. The Styx pride, the dominant pride in this area before the Nkohomas, they got hit very badly with mange, and you can still see that they're heavily scarred. It can leave scarring. Okay, there's another lioness that I didn't see before. Got another head pop up. Look at all these cubbies. Heart melt. Sammy, you're 7 years old from California, and you're asking about those black tufts on the lion's ears and why they have it. Well, it's also like a little follow me sign. Lots of animals out here in the animal kingdom have little follow me signs that are mostly either black or white, contrasting shades that allow others to be able to follow them. So when they're walking through long grass, you can see how long the grass is here. Either their tails, normally the end of their tails, or the tops of their ears will be visible to one another. So just like I mentioned earlier, that they call to keep in contact, and they also use scent, they will use visual cues too. It's important to keep track of your cubs. It's also important for the cubs to be able to follow mama. So they can look up and they'll either see mama's head, or they're able to view the black ears, or they'll see the black tail moving through the long grass. And then that means that they don't lose one another. Isn't this just so adorable? Okay, of course we're not going anywhere. I have a morning of lions ahead of me, but we are going to send you back across to Eric at andBeyond in Ngala and see what his plans are.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala. We are in the process of trying to see if we can get ahead of the wild dogs, and we've come out into this open area where there's these big open spaces, and just trying to see if these wild dogs might have been heading into this area to look for something to hunt, to see if there's any impalas around that might give away the wild dogs' position. And we haven't seen them since we were last with you. And as we were driving down the road, we saw 4 more hyenas moving quite quickly on the scent of the wild dogs. So we tried to follow them for a little bit, but then they also gave us the slip. So we are just moving around here slowly just to see what we can find. I mean, it's actually really nice light on these impalas at the moment. Looks like they're trying to warm up. Fuzzy, you're asking about the interbreeding of wild dogs and domestic dogs, and as far as I understand, Fuzzy, it hasn't been recorded, and they don't really mix. It's also Marcel's confirming that it is impossible. They're in a different genus to domestic dogs. They're a lot more closely related to the duer of India, which is similar to the wild dogs. But the thing with domestic dogs and wild dogs is they will sometimes interact. And if there's a wild dog that's interacted with a domestic dog within the communities around the reserves, they sometimes will pass on diseases. And because wild dogs are so social, those diseases will get transferred to the rest of the pack. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, these wild dogs don't have the immune systems to handle the disease, and sometimes the whole pack can be wiped out. This impala male walked up to the bush over there, and I thought he might have just gone and started to headbutt it, and that might have given us a clue that he was marking his territory. So he's just basically trying to protect this area for a short while. And these impala males have been going through a lot of effort trying to keep as many females within their territory as they possibly can. And so they are looking quite exhausted. I mean, if you look closely at this one, look at its hip bone sticking out. And so he's basically just spent a lot of time running and chasing other males away, trying to keep females within his territory, that he's used a lot of energy, and they spend so much time doing all of that, they don't really take a lot of time to look after themselves and feed like he is doing now. He's almost walking with, like he's stiff-legged, scratching his head. As he pan, we might see that he's oh, there's another one, and look at that one's got horns, and just look how much smaller that he is in comparison to the male. So, I mean, it's just a young impala, and I mean that male will tolerate him for a little bit, but if he feels like it's going to become a threat, he'll chase him away. And I think that the smaller male knows that he's the dominant one, and so he'll just try and avoid confrontation. Yeah, I think what we'll do, there's no real sign of these wild dogs anymore. We'll try for the next 10 or 15 minutes. If we don't have any luck, then I think we might start heading back down towards the river, see if we can see tracks of that male leopard where he went off to. For now, we're going to send you across to James to see what he's up to.
Our attention was arrested by the shouting of elephants. The elephants we have found, but what they were shouting at we don't know. The elephants are just over here. They're in some thick bush. We just want to make sure there isn't something else they were shouting at. They may have just been shouting at each other, but they may have been shouting at a predator. There they come. We'll just pull in here a little bit, try not to get stuck. There are elephants. Phew, what a start. Kelly, that's a lovely question. Where do the animals get protein if they only eat leaves? Well, animals that eat vegetation only have got bacteria in their bellies. That bacteria survives on the leaves and vegetation that they eat, and the animals then digest the bacteria, and that gives them protein. But it's a little bit more complicated and a little bit more interesting than that. The bacteria also manufacture fatty acids from the leaves. They have the enzymes that are able to do that. And those fatty acids are a crucial part of why you, as a human being, need more protein-rich food than just leaves. Now, you can get that from plant material, but you do need more protein-rich food than animals like this, because you don't have the bacteria in your belly that can make the fatty acids required for survival and for the building blocks of protein. And so it's basically all down to a whole lot of very clever bacteria in the guts of the herbivores. I think when a lot of people think about vegetarian human beings or vegan human beings, they think, well, you know, the animals out here can survive on vegetables. Big animals like this magnificent elephant cow looking at us now can survive purely on leaves. Surely we can too, because we're much smaller. And that's not the case. We can survive purely on plant material, but we must add things like nuts and avos and that sort of stuff, because we don't have the bacteria in our bellies to just eat leaves. And obviously for us, the easiest source of these proteins and fatty acids is animal fats. Is being a little bit ornery. She keeps sticking her head up, indicating displeasure. They were screaming. That's how we found them. They were really shouting loudly. Pretty relaxed now. Now they could have been shouting at each other. It could have been a bull that was causing trouble with them. It could have been a leopard that they saw. Sorry about the antenna. I just don't want to move it now. Big herd. Wonderful herd. I'll move as soon as I can. They're moving quickly. Should we try and go back, dog? I'll wait for this guy. Wait for this guy. Cool. And another big It's a whole big herd here. Now they're just a little bit cautious about us being parked here. These are the teenagers hanging at the back. Right. We are now finished with the kids' drive. Anybody who'd like to ask us questions can do so, including the kids. You can use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. Otherwise, you can use the chat stream on YouTube or on Twitch. quite interesting here. In South Africa, they'd be talking to each other as follows. Oaks, do you think we can go past there? Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe those oaks are a bit hectic for us. I'll just give them a head shake and maybe they'll move away. Oh, no. How do we go past? Just sort of like a little group of 13-year-olds who just finding their confidence and how much do they want to challenge this strange thing in front of them. Just geeing each other up. It's 3 young bulls. And they have 2 options. There is a path where that one's moving now. There's definitely a path. And the others are thinking, well, shouldn't we go just past the strange thing like that little kid did? I'm obviously projecting, but I find it so clear the way these elephants behave. Hello, Olweto and Hammond's Kraal, and you say that their ears look like DSTV satellites. They do, you know. And in many respects, they act the same way. Hyenas calling. And Olweto, their ears are very good at hearing, much like your DSTV satellite dish is good at picking up not sound, but other kinds of waves. They're not doing a very good job of psyching each other up now. We're very close to the hyena den, and there is some calling from there. Now very confused, don't know what to do. The rest of the herd's moved off. Come on, come past, be brave. African rat? I don't know if elephants speak the same language around the world. I mean, there are not a lot of elephants other than in Africa and in Asia. And in Asia, I suspect that the elephants speak a different language from the elephants in Africa because they're a different species entirely. In fact, they're a different genus. It would be a little bit like us speaking the same language as chimpanzees. So I'm sure they don't speak the same language. I'm sure they'd find some kinship, though. I don't know if they've ever been kept together in the same place. Not so brave, all 3 of these. But I think that you'll find that elephants from South Africa and elephants from East Africa would speak exactly the same language. Maybe there's a bit of dialect. So maybe there's some slightly different sounds that they make. And I'm sure that forest elephants make a different sound and have a different suite of languages from savanna elephants, but they could probably understand each other. It's interesting to think about, isn't it? All right, let's go back to the Djuma Pride, and we shall follow these elephants.
I could actually hear James's elephants coming to the sort of southwest from where we are. Ooh, that was loud. Now, the larger head of the two heads that you can see is one of Reginald's boys, I'm sure of it, the size. I think this is the older one, this is the cub that's a year. And I miscounted. There actually was 7 bodies in this pile. One got up and walked away, which means there's now 6. And there's another one lying somewhere. So I think I can see 8 in total. So sorry, I miscounted earlier. There should be 9 that we know of. But now in this little puddle, there was 6. And Kirsty's just reminded me, oh, James had the Ngala Pride last. That's right, on Ingwe Alley. Yes, and this was when we first realised they were a bit mangy, and James also only counted 8 cubs. So that's slightly worrying. But we'd have to see them all to work out who's missing. Or at least from which litter. We would be able to work out which individual from which litter is missing. So I can only count 8 here at the minute. I apologise. It's not easy when they're all huddled together like this. But that big one that you saw earlier. Oh, cute. I don't think this moment could be any cuter. A very unexpected start to the morning for me, the Ngala Pride. Frankie, you're 5 years old from Australia, and you're asking a very good question. Where are the daddy lions? I actually don't know, Frankie. There's a coalition of males, 3 of them, called the avokas, and they're much, much bigger than these little tiny cherubs. And 2 of the avokas, called Blondie and Mohawk, are normally found with this pride. When you find the pride, you normally find these 2 avokas somewhere close by. But they can also separate from the pride. So how it works is you'll have a male coalition, and they will be very dominant over a large area. And within their territory, they will have control over different prides. Now, for our avoka coalition, they are dominant over this pride, the Inkohumas, but they're also dominant over another pride to the north called the Talamatis. So they not only have to spend time with both prides, they also have to patrol their territory. Otherwise, other male lions could come in and take over. So they have to go off on their own. They have to, oh, big stretch. So they have to separate. But just as we were talking about earlier, they will vocalize, they will call, and they will reunite with the pride again. And one of them will be the daddy to these cubs. Which one? We don't know. It's impossible to tell, because all 3 of the males were mating with all of the lionesses. Oh, this keeps getting sweeter and sweeter. We're of course going to stay watching our little puppies, but we're going to send you back across to James with a little one of his own.
These elephants are a little upset about something. We drove past the adults again, and they actually gave us a bit of a rev, 2 of the cows. Not anything serious, but just said that's enough. Stay away. And then they huddled in the thickets there, and now slowly they're coming out. You can see the little one suckling just behind there. Strange. Little one running around, sort of trying to lead the herd, but getting very nervous about something or other. Kirsten just saying she thinks it's the future matriarch. I suppose it might be. He's the one having a drink. Always looks so uncomfortable to me. Quite a big herd. Not 15 of them, I think. And look at this. This is strange. This is unusual. We haven't had a reaction like that from an elephant for a very long time. And it's why it's very important to never, ever, ever take elephant behavior for granted or sightings for granted or become complacent around them. I must say that got my heart rate up a little as she came towards us. Mainly because we just haven't seen that for so long. They're talking to each other all the time. Hello, Levi. The biggest danger to an elephant is a human being, or another elephant, but mainly a human being. They don't really have predators out here, except maybe very big prides of lions and massive clans of hyenas, and then only if they're in a very weakened state. So only a seriously sick or weakened elephant could be harmed by lions or hyenas. And yet you will find them unusually nervous, unusually easily threatened. So that big cow at the back there is just feeling protective over her herd. It's possible that she's had some bad experience with human beings. It's possible she's had some bad experience with vehicles. But she was being extremely clear when she came out there that she was not pleased to see us and didn't want us any closer. Lovely sounds of a magpie shrike then. Well, we'll wait here for a little while and see what happens, and maybe pop into the hyena den while you go back to the lions.
Is wakening up, stretching. Oh, another one. Hello. Big stretch. I can actually see more bodies. Someone's alarm calling furiously. You hear that, BK? It's coming from here. I wonder if there's another lion or leopard. I'm just gonna get on the radio to James. James coming for Lauren.
Go ahead.
There's an impala alarm calling furiously just on power lines somewhere. I don't know if you want to check it out.
Okay, copy, thanks.
It's not at our lions. So is that something else?
Lauren for Henry. Lauren?
Standing by.
Yeah, I'd like to respond to those incoherence. What would be my best approach so that I don't interfere with your broadcast?
No problem. They're on Vuotella access, right off the side of the road, just next to the power lines junction. So if you just head along Vuotella access, you'll see them.
Thank you.
Oh, just as I say that, they're moving. I wonder if there is something on power lines. Okay, hopefully James can't investigate. So yes, Kirsten was just telling me that Giraffe Girl, you informed us that just at the end of last week on Mala Mala there was 9 cubs. Thank you so much, Giraffe Girl, because we've been a little bit concerned. So I actually don't know the total number of cubs here. What we need is for them all to stand up and go to Galago Pan and give us a beautiful view of them drinking. Did you copy that, Nicholas? But all in all, if there was 9 last week, then I'm more than sure there's 9 and we don't have to worry. It's quite normal for prides to split up and maybe one cub went off with one lioness and the rest of the cubs are off with the other lionesses. So it's really, really normal. So maybe when James spotted the 8th, another cubby was just with another lioness. And I'm really not sure. I can count 8 here, but there's possibly number 9 just snoozing off in the long grass there. That's entirely possible. It's so good to see them. I did not expect this morning. Okay, I'm going to sit here and try and see if I can assist James with the alarm calls. And as I listen, we're going to send you across to Eric with a fish eagle who appears to have caught his breakfast.
Well, we've decided to come and have a look to see what was at this waterhole, and we saw a fish eagle that we unfortunately disturbed, and it was right at the edge of the waterhole, and it was carrying away a massive, what looked like a catfish or a barbel, and it dropped it and it just flew up into one of the trees nearby, and we unfortunately can't see it now, but we'll wait and see if maybe it will decide to fly back down and claim its prize. In the meantime, we've got some hippos. It's such a beautiful still morning. I mean, there's absolutely no wind, providing these beautiful reflections. Fortunately, no luck with those wild dogs. Couldn't find any more tracks of them, so I guess they moved into those bushes. They could have even have caught something or changed direction. And so we aren't able to find them again. But let's see what other life is around this waterhole. There's been a few white-faced whistling ducks that have been around recently. Let's see, there are a few things that are flying in the water, swimming in the water. Those look like all little grebes. Oh, quite a few of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Trying to see if we can see where the catfish was dropped on the shore. Yeah, I think it might have just dropped it in the grass, so we can't see it here. Megan, this is a beautiful sighting. It's so nice, and I find it so peaceful coming to a waterhole in the early morning like this. And just switch off. We're listening to all the birds around us. Arrow-marked babblers calling. Some 3-banded plovers. Ooh, there's even a woodpecker. It's a bearded woodpecker that was calling. I think it's the only woodpecker in South Africa that communicates by knocking on the wood. Distant calls of hyena in the background. It really is just a beautiful morning to be out and about, especially with the start that we've had. We've been seeing a young hippo recently, but they unfortunately, this waterhole's so big and they're usually at the very, very far corner of the waterhole, so we can't really see them too well. You asking if we get red algae in the water, and I haven't seen on Ngala recently. I don't think there's any places that we do get red algae. There is a little bit of green algae around, but it's pretty harmless. It doesn't look like it's taking over the waterhole. Just look at the size difference between those two hippos, with the one on the left-hand side blowing water out of its nostrils and the one on the right. And both of them are adults, but that one on the left is so much bigger, and that's the dominant male of this waterhole, or the territorial bull of this waterhole. The one on the right-hand side is a female, so she might be the one with the youngster, the little calf, but I mean, we haven't seen tiny little nostrils picking up. Oh, I think that was it. That might have been the little one. Well, that's very cool to see. I think we might hang around here and just sit for another 10 or 15 minutes, listen for any alarm calls. But for now, we will send you back to Lauren, who's with lions.
They're starting to move one by one. It's very sort of contagious behavior. Once one gets up and stretches or grooms, they all sort of start to follow. Most of them, apart from these little snoozy heads down here. I haven't seen these two move, not once. Very sleepy. It wasn't easy for me to get up this morning either. I could feel the cold from under my covers. We love to complain about the weather here. I'll complain in about an hour or two when it gets too hot. I'm just going to fix my radio, everyone. Sorry, it appears to be on the wrong channel. Nancy, because of the different age groups, most of them, Ridge-nosed boys, for example, we've got one down here, and I've seen both of them, so they're both present in this sighting. That's 2 checked off the list. Ridge-nosed boys will be weaned. Absolutely, they're the oldest now at 1 year. I can't believe it. But the younger ones, for example, Chella's little one, she should have 4, and as I mentioned, she appears to have lost 3, will still be suckling. Weaning is a process, so they will be introduced to meat. They'll actually be led to kills anytime from 6 to 8 weeks. They need to get introduced to meat in order to start, well, the digestive process, enzymes recognizing need antibodies and all sorts. But they only really start to get weaned at around 7 months to maximum 10 months. It's a process, it's gradual. The cubs will try to always suckle. Mother will start to say no, and slowly but surely they learn. So Ridge-nosed boys' cubs will definitely be weaned, but as for the younger cubs, they will not be. I hope that makes sense, Nancy. So the Nkohumas have done very well, very, very well, but there has been loss, of course, as you know, which is sad. But the loss compared to the gain is quite drastic. They've definitely done very, very well. Purple Eye lost 1, and Chela was believed to have lost 3, which is 4 in total, which is very, very sad. But of course, they're still going strong with 9 cubs. Excuse me, everyone, I just sneezed. I want to get a proper look at all the lionesses now, but I don't think they're going anywhere for a while. I think they're going to wait till it just gets a little bit warmer before they move. There's a really interesting paper that talks about lionesses in a pride. And it actually says, on average, now this is not always the case, remember, there's always exceptions to the rule, but on average, females within a pride are related as slightly more than cousins. So all females will be related on some level as slightly more than cousins. They're not just randoms who have joined the pride, they are all related in some way, shape or form. Sorry, Kirst, can you just repeat that one more time? There's another vehicle arriving in the sighting. Jace, you were asking what was the huffing sound that the lion just made. I think it was a sneeze. I also sneezed. Everybody's sneezing. There must be something in the air. I think it was a sneeze. I'm not quite sure. When they use their voice box, you'll really hear that little noises that the cubs make, which will slowly start to deepen as they get older. But I think that huffing sound was a sneeze. One of my favorite things that lions do is when they scratch themselves, they have this uncontrollable habit of sticking their tongue out at the same time. I don't know why they do it. Yeah, Kirsten's saying her dog does it, my dog does it too, and I don't know why. Why? Huh? The itch must feel that good. Ooh. Oh, it feels good. I haven't really seen the adults looking too mangy, but the cubs definitely are. Kirsten's saying she's got a wound on her tongue. I'd actually like to see them all standing up so we could see their overall conditions. Yeah, the cubs are very mangy. That's slightly sad. But we have to remember mange is normal in an ecosystem. It's sad to see, but it is normal. And we were actually talking about this with the Nkahuma and the hyenas the other day. That mange is reported across 10 different orders, 27 different families of organisms, and 104 different species. So mange is found throughout the animal kingdom. We may move in a little while to get better views, but for now, we're going to send you back across to James and his baby elephant.
I've just had the most astonishing experience here. We were just driving along the road and the little one came out bouncing at us. And then ran across the road to his mother, who came out, shouted at us, and then another little one came, and the noise they made was absolutely amazing. All these elephants, this is not the same herd that we had before. All of them are in a state of high agitation. Definitely not going to follow her off-road. I think that would be asking for trouble. Yes, indeed, Sable Sky James does think the elephants had some kind of interaction last night, either with each other. Maybe they met the Nkahuma Pride. The Nkahuma Pride's tracks are all over here. But I don't know why that would rile them up for the whole morning. I'm just going to drive around here to the top of the dam here at Treehouse. We went to the hyena den. There was nothing going on there at all. There was not a hyena in sight. And I don't know if they're just hiding because the lions came past here, or if they've moved. No, Prashant, there are no poachers. That's not why these animals are like this. I seriously doubt that, well, I mean, it's not impossible, but it's very, very unlikely. And as per usual, there is absolutely nothing going on here. Except, of course, ye olde, very faithful blacksmith lapwing. But that's it. Despite there being mad action, elephant-wise, all around, nothing at the actual water. All right, let's move on. Yeah, it's possible, enemy mouse, that one of the pride went after the baby elephants. But remember, that's not... We've now seen probably 3 herds of elephants, and all of them are upset about something. I'm just doing a circle of the whole block. Many of you are saying that it's my hat. I really don't think that that's the case. I think that's unreasonable. That's very mean of all of you. The first herd is coming down sort of through this area, and I thought they'd arrive here at the water, but they haven't. Do well to be very cautious around these parts today. The elephants are in a state of high agitation. And as I always say, we really have to guard against complacency with these animals. Prashant, I don't think you should feel bad in the slightest that you suggested it could be poachers. I don't think that in these times that that's an unreasonable suggestion. I just don't think that in this area that's likely, given the strength of the anti-poaching unit. But it's not a bad suggestion, because poachers would definitely make elephants behave in this way. Here's a calm elephant. Doesn't know what all the fuss is about. No, I don't think so, White Lady Ewan. I don't think that labour with one of the cows could cause this kind of distress. I mean, they're upset, they're feeling defensive, they're very, very protective of the little ones. Maybe it's the lions, but I really don't think that it's, I don't think it's got to do with labour. Labour tends to be a relatively celebratory event. They do go wild, but they don't sort of charge and chase it. They just surround the cow that is in labour. Here, they've been massively protective of the babies. Even this young bull is not particularly confiding. So I don't think that that's the case. I'm not sure that they'll pay any attention to my departure on Friday. I don't think they're feeling betrayed by me. Nice to think that that was the case, though, wouldn't it? Let's carry on around here. Like I say, I'm not going to follow these guys off-road. I'd like to pick up on where the hyenas are, because they were making a whooping sound, a rallying cry. Yes, MGN, I don't think they ran across a honey badger. I don't think the honey badger would have interrupted their their entertainment. Certainly not over the wide range that they are. I know you're saying that tongue-in-cheek. What's interesting, though, is that it is over quite an area that they are all not very happy. And I think it's because one or two have probably had a bad experience. I mean, I doubt they've all had a bad experience. And that has been communicated. And everyone is now in a state of anxiety or angst. Despite the fact that I'm sure not all of them have had a traumatic experience last night. And they used to tell stories when they were doing the culling of the elephants back in the sort of mid-90s, which thankfully is brainlessness that was applied to that process has ended. But they, you know, the elephants used to, apparently, if they were culling in the south of the park, the elephants in the north of the Kruger Park would go ballistic. They knew what was going on. It was being communicated somehow. And so there'd be this terror, this collective elephant terror. So they all crossed over here. Cheryl says if Mama ain't happy, ain't no one happy. In fact, it wasn't Mama who got upset there first. Mama was very calm on the left-hand side of the car, and it was the baby who got upset coming in from the right. And then Mama got upset because baby was screaming, literally screaming. We're going to go back around towards the hyena den. In the meantime, let's go back to the lions.
We've repositioned a little bit just to come deeper into the thicket where everybody is grooming. Everybody. Aloe grooming is very important within lion prides. Excuse me. It was a mixture of Lauren sneezing and the lion cubbies getting vocal. Which noise did you prefer? I'm sure it was Lauren sneezing. I've been sneezing all morning. Apologies, everyone. So sorry, what I was saying is that aloe grooming is very important. I clean you, you clean me. I watch your back, you watch mine. It's very important for social cohesion. It keeps the bonds nice and tight because lions will fight during feeding frenzies. Absolutely. I witnessed the Nkuhumas on Christmas Eve, I'm sure it was. I always get this date wrong. Taking down a male impala ram on quarantine. Of course, it didn't happen while it was live, And oh, it's aggressive. The lionesses were fighting. The lionesses were aggressive to the cubs. The vocal male was very aggressive. And then once the feeding frenzy is over, it's all back to being friends again. Hello, my girl. Now, I could be wrong, but I think so far I've seen the youngest lioness, tatty-eared lioness. I think Chella might be here, and I'm not sure who the other lionesses are. I need to get a better look at them. Fizzy, you're asking about male lions that maybe never get to sort of set up a coalition and be dominant over a pride. I think that's what you're asking. Yes. Now, it's very likely that a male lion wouldn't try to do it on their own. Now, coalition mates, sorry, I'm just going to turn this down, are not related. So lionesses and a pride are related, but male lions are not. And they can be related, absolutely, but they can also be strangers to one another. And normally it's male lions around the same age group that will sort of come together and form a coalition. Now, there's a coalition in the Masai Mara that are said to be nomadic. They haven't yet became territorial, although they're old enough to be. There's 2 of them, and they just don't appear to be dominant over any pride. So yes, it's uncommon, but male lions can be more nomadic, and they would mate with lionesses given the opportunity, but that's risky business. If they come in and they try to mate with a lioness who is possibly already mating with another coalition, there would be a fight. So yes, Fizzy, is possible, but of course it's far more beneficial for male lions to be in a coalition, to have one another, to be dominant, and of course have control over prides, because therefore they have plenty mating opportunities and can continue their own bloodline. This little snoozy head in the background hasn't opened its eyes, not once. It's adorable. Long-term studies have actually shown that generally mammal fathers, brothers, and even unrelated can contribute to the care of young in different ways. But for male lions, in mammals in general, mammals are mammals because they have mammary glands and they produce milk. So for male mammals, especially male lions, they cannot produce milk. Of course they can, and therefore their role in caregivers is slightly different, because most offspring in mammal world at least require maternal milk. And therefore for male lions, their priorities are to have as many mating opportunities as possible. Of course, it might not all be possible, but they need to conquer what they can, because in terms of reproduction, their priorities is to continue on their own bloodline. Now, if you have a coalition of brothers and cousins, then it's more beneficial because you can actually produce offspring by proxy. Your genes are still in there somewhere. And that's why when you find a bigger coalition, there's actually a coalition of 9 males being recorded. That's a very high number. They will most likely be related because they can still reproduce by proxy. Whereas these smaller coalitions are most likely unrelated males, because there will be competition there. So although you're a coalition, if your coalition mate produces offspring, they're no relation to you. So although you have a coalition, it doesn't benefit you in any way, shape or form. Whereas if your coalition mate is your brother, it's going to benefit you in some way because your genes are still thrown into the mix. So bigger coalitions are said to be related males, or more likely to be related males, shall we say. Everybody's slowly starting to wake up in the warmth of the sun now, including myself. Yeza. Technically, it goes against the grain to adopt a brandy cub. But I believe it has been recorded. It does happen. I even saw pictures on that World Wide Web of a lioness adopting a leopard cub. I'm not quite sure of the circumstances behind it, but yes, it is possible. And excuse me, everyone, I don't quite know what's happening to me this morning. Bless me. But yes, I believe it's possible, and it has been recorded, but it would depend on the circumstances of how the lionesses would come across a cub. Because all the cubs here, all 9 of them, I'm hoping all 9 are here, are all related to the pride. So they're all connected. They are very much part of the Djuma pride. So nobody needs to adopt these cubs because they're very much part of the pride. But from a neighbouring pride, for example, from the Talamatis, let's say, I think it would depend on the circumstances. So it's very, very rare, but I believe it has been recorded in the wild. This little cubby looks quite bad. You see that, BK? That big patch just here. Yes, of missing hair. That looks quite severe. Very severe. Okay, I'm going to try and clear out my nose. And as I do that, we are going to send you back across to James with his elephants.
There we have got a young bull now, and he seems to be pretty relaxed. Although, as soon as we got close to him, he did seem to indicate that he'd rather be further away from us than we were. We checked the other hyena den. There's absolutely nothing going on there. So I think our hyenas are just still out foraging or on their way home from a fun night at the club. Things are now calming slightly. Phew. So nice and calming now. Just watch them eat. As the robins start to call. Decent sized bull, this. I'd say he's about 20 to 25. I'm sure he too would have been affected by the angst, general angst of our Djuma elephants today. Walking along with his trunk stuck in the air, smelling. We'll go back a little bit. Yes, quite often in Visible Chat, I don't know if you were watching last night, but there were definitely at least 2 herds at the Waterhole in front of camp. And they will come together often at water and then slowly split up again. Very seldom is there any animosity at all. Now this is interesting. The pride of lions came up this road, and I've just looked out the side of the car, and there's a mail track here. And I'm assuming that there are no males with the pride now. All right, well, I think we'll go to the southern boundary once we've finished here and then come back up. Lovely sound there of the green wood hoopoes. Rosie, yes, to a large extent savanna and desert elephants do share the same temperament. I have limited experience of desert elephants. I have had about 4 or 5 sightings of them. And yeah, in my experience, you know, where they're not harassed, they're very calm and they're very pleasant to be around. They can be, you know, in some areas though, they are harassed and they can be a little bit difficult then. But by and large, they're exactly the same, yeah. They look a little different. They're skinnier. But they're exactly the same species. They're not a different animal. There we go. And this is a much calmer, more normal interaction to have with this size of bull. Safi lamb, I'm sure it can. You know, when it's cloudy and windy and the animals will struggle to smell and there are strange scents being carried on the wind, I'm sure that they will be more alert, a bit more nervous. I think you'll find that they'll seek cover when it's very windy and unpleasant. They'll go and find thick bush to sit in because it gives them shelter from the wind. So yeah, it does affect their behavior. I think they get very sleepy on hot days. Often on a very hot morning you'll find them snoozing under a tree. It shouldn't really surprise us that, you know, many of the things that affect us as mammals, as human mammals, will affect many other mammals to a greater or lesser extent. Cold will make us seek cover. Heat will make us seek shade. Hot will make us lethargic. Hyenas are calling again, but they're miles south of the boundary. To know what went on here last night. There's great stories to be told. All right, let's go across to the man who started the show off with such an enormous bang, old Eric, and find out what became of his dogs and his leopard cat.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala. We are currently in the riverbed of the Timbavati River. We left that waterhole. That fish eagle didn't show itself again, unfortunately. We managed to find a whole pile of feathers, which looked like it could have been from a hornbill, a red-billed or a yellow-billed hornbill. So, I mean, what it was carrying didn't look like a bird, but we didn't see it well enough to confirm it. And so now what we've just decided to do is come down into the riverbed to see if we can see any signs of this young male that we saw this morning, and just to kind of orientate you and show you where we are at the moment. We saw the leopard over here, around here, and it was darting away from the hyenas down in this direction to this riverbed, and so we are driving it here now. So we're coming down this section, and so we're hoping to see if there's any tracks or signs of him maybe crossing this way. If you were with us watching him in the last, I think it was the last time I was on, about 4 days ago, we started to notice that he was using shade very well as a form of cover. And on the left hand side is completely dark in the shade. The sun hasn't risen high enough, so there's a long shadow that comes almost halfway down the river. And so what I'm hoping is maybe he's sitting on the riverbank and just watching and scanning this area. So he might be in the shade still. And what we'll be looking for is just this very, very white chest. I mean, it's something that stands out a lot. And on that white chest are these black bars, almost like a necklace that goes across their chest. So those are some of the things that I'm trying to keep a lookout for, as well as tracks of him crossing the river. And there's lots and lots of activity that happens on the river. And so it's sometimes quite difficult to determine if you find leopard tracks, whether it's fresh or not. The mayor of Space is asking whether we do fishing in some of the water holes. I'm not a fisherman myself, the mayor of Space, but there are a few quite avid fishermen that manage to cast a line every now and again. And like you said, it's pretty much a catch and release. There was actually fish in the riverbed when it was still lots and lots of puddles. And I do know a few of our guides actually caught some tiny little tilapia to try and release them back into some of the more permanent water holes in the area. I've never really been a fisherman. I don't know. I'm a bit funny with fish. I don't like touching them too much. So probably lost about 100 man points as I said that. But anyway. Starting to be a really nice warm morning. I've taken my gloves off, got feeling in my fingers again. We're starting to defrost. Looks like it's going to be a really beautiful day today. Let's see. Okay, I've seen tracks of something. Looks like it might be the lions from the other day. So whilst we carry on searching for this area, we'll send you across to Lauren again.
Our lions are just being so cozy and cuddly. You just want to jump in the middle and cuddle up to them. That would not be a wise idea. But they're just being so adorable and so cuddly.
Henry, help me the best way to approach that sighting. Is it from where they access from that gate side?
No, you could come from the gate or from Sandy Catch. About halfway.
Okay, I was going to assist with that, but I'm not sure I'm going to get a word in edgeways.
You can see Lauren on the end of the sun.
Okay, copy that, thank you.
She's about 10, 15 meters off the road.
Okay, now in.
Yeah, you can't miss me once you drive along Waterhole access. I'm just off the side of the road at the junction with power lines. Okay, there you go. I think a lot of people are excited to see the baboons this morning. Leo, you're 11 years old from Johannesburg, and you're asking why do cats have such long tails? The evolution of tails in mammals is actually very, very fascinating. It's a long, long line of evolution for different reasons. But within cats, within mammals, most of them have tails to protect their sensitive regions. Now, of course, there's sensitive genitals there that they must protect. It's very, very important. They can use it as a fly swatter as well. So when those nasty insects decide to land on their bottom, they can swat them right away. Now, if you think of a cat's tail, let's not talk about a cheetah, let's talk about a lion, because we're looking at lions. They have a very long, thin tail with a big tuft of black hair at the end. Now, this helps the little cubbies follow them through the long grass, because they can see, they're so short and small, they can see their mothers or their aunts or their cousins' big tuft of black hair at the bottom of the tail, and they can follow that in order to keep up with the pride. Some cats, domestic cats, are said to have long tails for balance, but I don't think that's directly applicable to your lions here. They're just as agile with or without tails, but they do use them as a sort of follow me sign and a fly swatter and a protection for those sensitive areas. Some animals use their tails for communication. Elephants in particular, they're very, very common for using their tail when communicating to one another or to another species, which could be ourselves. I've seen a lion in the Masai Mara, two actually, without any tails, and it does not affect them. It really doesn't affect their life cycle. They're still agile, they can still reproduce, they can still hunt. Leopards, of course, use their tails slightly differently. They'll turn their tails upside down, or they'll turn it up so that you can see the underside, where it's white. And this is like a white flag. They'll do this when they're patrolling and they're walking and they're very visible, and all the impala start to get very upset by their presence, that they'll flick their tail up, and it's trying to tell the other animals, that's okay, I'm not hunting, I'm just patrolling. Look at my white tail. I'm not going to eat you. But I'm always convinced if the leopard came across the opportunity, they still would eat. So that's communication to different species. I can see some mangy patches on the adults too. It's not severe. It's nowhere near as severe as the cubs, but I can see some patches on a few of the adults. They're definitely in better condition than the cubs, so. It's so nice to have the Nkohumas back, isn't it, everyone? Sir 50, I'm actually not sure, because it's a skin disease caused by the mites that I was talking about earlier, and they burrow into the skin. I think mange can affect a lion or any cat at any age. Now, I've never seen mange in very, very young cubs, but I would imagine it can affect them. For example, if the mother was severely affected or suffering from mange, I would imagine that she could pass it quite easily to the young cubs. So I don't actually know, but I'm thinking it could affect the animal at any age given the circumstances. But I think once the cub reaches that 6-week mark, when they're very mobile and they're leaving the dens and they're sort of moving a lot more with the pride, then I think they're more visible to getting mange, especially when they start interacting with other pride members. And therefore, I would say any age, Sir 50. That would be my sort of take on that. But they can bounce back from mange. It really does depend. And as I mentioned earlier, they do say that the rains of summer can normally flush it out. And now that we're in winter, It's going to be a tricky one for these cubbies. The Styx Pride actually lost cubs to mange, but it may go the other way. They may just bounce back from it. I haven't seen any of them itching too furiously. It's normal to itch, it's normal to groom. So I haven't seen sort of incessant, constant itching in the same areas of any individuals. They do seem quite relaxed. Anna Marie, good question. Do I think the saliva from all this grooming will help control mange? No, I don't. I don't think it's enough. If you think of your own tongue, if you were to constantly, that sounds weird, lick your son's face, which I'm sure he would hate, it's not that much saliva that we have in our mouth. So I'm going to say no, but I completely understand where you're going with that question. But I really don't think that a lot of saliva would, of course, assist mange. Mange can spread throughout an individual's skin so rapidly. And of course, many may ask, why would we not treat them for mange? Why would we not intervene, and why would we not try to help? Mange is a natural skin disease. These mites do exist, and diseases exist in populations within ecosystems for a reason, and it is to control populations. So although it's devastating to watch things like this, from mange to white mussel disease to even just individuals of the same species killing one another, it's devastating for us to watch, but it's natural. And sometimes you have to let natural diseases play out, and you also have to let natural vectors of diseases exist. Humans should only intervene when it's human caused. They're making me feel snoozy watching them. But of course, we haven't seen Nkohomas in so long. I'm not going anywhere. But you guys are going to go back across to James, who's looking at a bird.
Up top there. There's a very special bird here. Just listen. You see it there, Doc? Top right. That's it. That's him. Watch its tail. That's so cool. That is the ashy grey flycatcher, which used to have a much nicer name. Right of screen, you got him. Centre, down, down. And he used to be called the fan-tailed flycatcher. I'm hoping he'll fan his... There we go. There's the fan tail. Of course, I mean, why would you leave the name at an appealing and easy to remember fan-tailed flycatcher? Much better to change it to something impossible to remember. To the ashy grey. Except it's not that grey or ashy. Mark, I missed that, I'm afraid. Nice watty it has. A nice whistle, yes, it has got a nice call. Tally ho, you say number 156 on your bird list. Most impressive. Then, David, there's something quite interesting going on the dashboard. Look, behold. There is an interesting orthopterid, or member of the crickets or grasshoppers. Now, what this thing was doing was actually grooming. It was grooming that ridiculously long antenna. There are quite a few studies you'll find on things like cockroaches and the like that spend a lot of time grooming their antenna, because without them they can't understand what's going on around them. Quite a lot of bird activity going on around here. Waxbills, green-winged pitilias I can hear. Probably a couple of 5-finches. Naturally, this chap's not going to re-clean. There's a 5-finch. Oh, it's flown away. There you go. Oh, it's flown away. They just don't sit still, the 5-finches. Yeah, critter freak it is. It's a beautiful shade of green, is our grasshopper. Tally-ho, I'll do my best to find some more birds for you for your bird list. It's not that easy, Tally-ho, you know, because they don't sit still very long. It's extremely tricky. Linda Poley, you said it's your bedtime, you're going to bed. Well, Linda Poley, good night, sleep tight. Bed bugs and all that, let's hope they don't bite. Fascinating. Good. All right, well, I should probably move on from here. Let's go back to Eric. He's got another bird for you, Tally-ho, all the way out in Ngala. Let's go and check out what it is.
Yeah, I see it. You got it. Welcome back to Ngala. We set ourselves a challenge of finding you an orange-breasted bushshrike, and we heard one calling and one flew into the bushes, but as soon as we went live, it flew away. But there have been lots and lots of other birds around this area. It seems like there's a very big bird party going on. So we'll see. We had a yellow-breasted apalus as well, which is a really cool one. The hard thing with these little birds is they're just so fast and they move around the bushes so quickly. Okay, can you see in this bush here, Marcel? This bush on the right-hand side of the road, there's a couple of birds right in the middle of it. They're all hopping around. There goes the apalus. Okay, let's see which ones you've got. And they've all gone. There's one still in frame there. That's quite a common one that we find in this area, grooming itself. It's called a rattling cesticula. There you go, it's in focus now. So, a pretty nondescript bird, lots of browns and greys. The distinguishing thing about this bird is the call. So it goes and it calls pretty much throughout the whole entire year, non-stop. Then there's a few others. Oh, it's so hard because you see a small little flutter and then you pick up your binoculars and then it flies away. You got, oh, there you go, well done. Well, it was there. So, yeah, it's almost like they know the camera's on them and then they fly away. But that was, I think, in a palace that we had in view there. They're still in the tree. They're flying away. Yeah. We got them flying away. It counts. Let me show you. I mean, I don't know if you got to see it nicely. Oh, Marcel's opting for the easy option, going for the vultures. Let me just quickly, Marcel, if you want to just have a look, just so everyone can see what the bird is that we were trying to get a look at. So that one there, the yellow-breasted apalus, and so it's got a very olive back that we were seeing, and then sometimes when it turns, JC, lots and lots of jumping birds around. And then I wanted to show you the bush shrike, which I think is probably one of the prettiest families out here. But their name says it all. They love being in the bushes, so it's quite difficult to. That's not the here, the one at the top over here. So just look at all of that yellow, and it actually doesn't show too well, but the orange is what stands out to me on the orange-breasted bush shrike, with quite a definitive eye stripe. So we often hear it calling, you see it in the bushes, and then just like every bird has been doing to us this morning, they fly away from us. I think we exhausted all of our birds out here. There's a fork-tailed drongo. I'm sure that's a bird that lots of viewers might know and recognize. And then a couple of female weavers. A grey-headed sparrow. And an orange leaf that looks exactly like the bush shrike I wanted to show you. So that's at least, I mean, off the top of our head, at least about 7 or 8 different species that we counted in this tiny, tiny area. And these birds will join forces together, especially when they are looking for food. A lot of the time, I mean, they all feed in kind of different layers of the trees. So some will feed right down at the bottom in the grass, some will feed right up at the top. I think we've got our bush shrike there, straight ahead. Yeah, that's it. No, it's another orangey weaver. Can you see it? There. Yeah, that's just come out. So that's a weaver, but that orange is exactly the same color as the orange-breasted bush shrike. I didn't even look at that bird good enough to tell you what weaver it was, unfortunately. Oh, so they all feed in different regions of the trees, and they flush out. Having more species allows more insects to be flushed out, and so a lot of them will move around together like that. So it helps them feed together. It also helps protection. They'll all, if something like a small little raptor, like a little sparrowhawk or a gabar goshawk comes into the area, all the birds will alert one another and help each other out. Yeah. Nice. So that was a nice little challenge for Marcel to see if we could catch the bush shrike. If we hear another one and get one into view, we'll be sure to show you. But in the meantime, we'll send you back to Lauren.
Sometimes it's nice to enjoy the birds, isn't it? Always need to make sure you look up. Now, something really interesting happened. Something startled every single individual here. So they all stood up and they looked in a northern direction. I have no idea what it was. I didn't hear anything, but I imagine they heard something that I cannot hear. There's 6 adults. There's 6 females here. I got to see them all when they stood up. So we counted 8 cubs, 6 females. I think pale-eyed lioness is here, and I think Chile is also here. But again, I need a good look at their face before we can decide anything. But there's definitely 6, so at least we've got a count so far. There's just another vehicle sighting. It's really incredible when you think about an animal's sensory world. They can really see colors on the spectrum and hear sounds that we cannot hear. They can also smell things that we can't smell. They can analyze pheromones and hormones in the air. They can smell a puddle of urine from another lion and understand a lot about that lion. Imagine if humans had that ability to smell each other's urine and understand things about that individual without actually ever having to talk to that individual. It sounds rather disgusting, but can you really imagine that? Oh, James is on a winning streak and he's now came across a playful elephant.
Here we are with a herd of elephants. And they are drinking, well, they're playing in the mud, a little group. They seem to be pretty calm compared with all the others we've found. And I'll just, while you're looking at them, tell you that that male lion did cross out to the south. And he came along this road too. This is the road Ingwe Alley, which we thought the leopard tracks were heading towards this morning. And then we found some more leopardess tracks in the very south of the reserve, which most likely Tundi's, but who knows. I'm beginning to wonder if the initial shouting of our elephants this morning wasn't caused by the male lion walking along here. El Zabo, are you wondering if elephants can breathe through their mouths and trunks at the same time? I don't know for sure. I imagine that they can. Not sure why they wouldn't be able to. But I don't know for sure. Yes, I can breathe through my nose and mouth at the same time, Kirsten. I've just tried it. As I suspect many, many other people around the world are now trying to do, going... Kirsten says she finds it quite strange, but in actual fact, if your mouth is open, you're doing it all the time. Unless your nose is blocked, in which case you're not. And as my mouth hangs open in slack-jawed amazement at the world going on around me, I am always doing it. It's like the old classic. Try and touch your ear with your elbow. Or if you tell somebody you know it's impossible for you to touch your ear with your elbow, I guarantee you there are people around the world right now trying to touch their ears with their elbows, going, oh, yeah, it's impossible. Louise in final control is now trying not to do it, but Kirsten says her elbow is rising inextricably towards her ear, but obviously not anywhere near it. Megan, you say you admit it. You've just tried to do it. Just heard the weirdest thing.
It's not a corn, actually.
It's not an aeroplane. Sounded like a jet. No, You reckon it's a
There's
car?
on the main road.
Maybe it's a car on the main road. Many of us are surprised now if you do see an aeroplane flying overhead. These chaps seem to be much, much more relaxed than the others. And enjoying some greenery underneath the guarri bushes. Still quite a few of them. It's not just these three. I think there are probably at least sort of 12 knocking around in here. Beautiful sound of the Cape turtley dove, we must always point it out. No, Carla, you make a good point. Cape turtle doves are not that hard to spot. They're on the road often. The reason you don't see them much on our safaris is that they are really very kind of innocuous looking small grey doves. We're always looking for other things. Hello, my lady. Can you explain to me why your friends were so deeply upset today? Oh, she's picking a seedling of Sisyphus. That was very dainty. Indeed, unknown explorer, they do. I've never heard of it referred to as that, but I think you're absolutely correct. Someone here has bubble toots. In other words, bubble baths, perhaps? The passing of wind in a bubular manner. It's the elephants. They pass wind in a bubular manner. I've just taught you all a new word, haven't I? Bubular. It is the adjective derived from the noun bubble. It is. Bubular. I'm not sure that my wife believes that it's a word, but it is. She's still smelling us as she stands there. Just... Oh, sorry, we're not on the cow elephant. We're on her offspring, who will probably come a little closer now. Using his little feet to pick his food. And suddenly a strange reaction. I don't know why she would have done that. Maybe because I used the term bubular. She's not a very big cow, so it's not thing that particularly worries me. And also, she's been so relaxed till now that this is just odd. She looks almost sleepy. Her eyes are closing. Are you sleepy, my dear? You look very drowsy. How cool was that? I think that sometimes we're misinterpreting their behavior. Because they have a limited range of facial expressions and body language, I think sometimes we're mistaking distress for some other kind of emotion, or, any kind of reaction. We're saying, well, that indicates nervousness or distress, but it might equally indicate profound interest. Oh dear, Ngala 1. You say that you can't breathe through your nose and mouth at the same time. You're definitely a defective human being. I'm sorry about that. You should probably seek medical advice as soon as possible. Isolate yourself. We don't want anybody else being unable to breathe through their mouths and noses. Are you sure you can't? Breathe through your mouth slowly and then just try and open up the hole, the cavity, or the pipe to your nose. You'll find it's possible. Louise says it's easier to start with your nose and then your mouth. I'm not sure. Now everyone's trying it again. And here comes the rest of the herd. Now, strong smell of elephants all over here. Sweet leather. Morning, my dear. How are you? Why now suddenly have you decided to come this way? Jim, I don't believe you. I simply don't believe you. You say you only exhale through one nostril at a time and it changes every 4 to 5 hours. No, I'm definitely exhaling through both my nostrils. I can feel air coming out of both of them. Kirsten says there's only air coming out of her right nostril. It's because your left one's blocked, my dear. There's a babila toot. I think if you put a mirror under your nose, you'd find that air was coming out of both of them. Why they're all choosing to be behind the camera as opposed to in front of it, but there it is, and we can't move now because it's an elephant 3 meters behind us. I'd say about 15 or 16 elephants have gone past us now, and here comes the real big mama. Here comes Granny. No, she's not actually. She's not a granny. Well, she might be a granny, but she's not very old. She's older than the others, though. Well, that was a much more calming elephant experience than the ones we've had today. Today. And so I think we shall continue and head over to the soporific lions now.
Our lions are grooming so meticulously. They must be the cleanest lions in the world. Now, the 3 youngest lionesses are definitely here. Michael Fleetwood, you also confirmed that. Thank you so much. So we do have the pale-eyed, the tatter-eared, and the youngest lioness, who is the daughter of Ridge-Nose. I haven't seen Ridge-Nose, though. So those 3 are definitely here, which I thought. And the other 3, I think I'm still going to stick with those guesses, but can't confirm right at this moment. All we can see is tawny bodies in the grass. A few vehicles have been and gone, and they've all said the same thing. It's so lovely to have them back. Yes, it is. That's really lovely. But what I'm interested in, I had a discussion with Louise about how the Nkuhumas have done this before. When it's summer, animals respond to environmental cues, remember. When it's summer, the Nkuhumas seem to disappear. They head off to greener pastures, even when everything is green. And in winter, they tend to come back. I mean, last winter, the Nkuhumas were here almost every day. There's the Nkuhumas. The Nkuhumas. We're so used to seeing them every single day. So I wonder what's going to be in store for this winter. I wonder if they'll take up residence on Djuma again. Guaranteed water. It's a core part of their territory. I wonder. BK, can you see this little window acria just in front of this lioness? You see it? There we go. I've been waiting on it landing on one of the lioness's noses for a photo, but it's not happened yet. It will, I'm sure. This is the window acria. Beautiful butterfly that will soon also disappear. I'm seeing less and less butterflies on every single drive now. Less birds. I've not heard a woodland kingfisher in... I don't even know now. I've seen them, but I haven't heard them, which means they're no longer calling, which means breeding season is over. Things are changing. Change is the only constant, of course. And yes, everyone's chatting about how much you've missed them. Me too. I mean, I did see them not so long ago, but that sighting in Little Gowrie, it wasn't so easy. And we only ended up spending time with 2 lionesses. If it's not in our property, then it's a little bit tricky for us. And there was a smelly dead wildebeest in the sighting as well. Now, Natalie and I had a conversation the other day, which I wanted to share with you, because I came back from seeing the hyena cubs, and I said, oh, they're just so cute. I want to eat them. And Natalie said, I know what you mean, I just wanted to squeeze them. And then you realize what you've said, and it's actually very bizarre. I don't even eat meat most of the time. Why on earth did I just say that I wanted to eat a hyena cub? But there's actually science behind it. Why do humans want to squeeze? You get this insane urge, I hope you all understand what I'm talking about, to squeeze things that are cute. A puppy, a kitten, lion cub, and of course you're not going to squeeze them, but it's like an urge. And it's actually been studied, and by science they call it cute aggression. because it's a reaction to something that's cute, but it's quite an aggressive response from a human because you're saying, I just want to squeeze you. It's quite aggressive, especially when it's a baby animal. And I think it was first described in 2015, which was really not that long ago, 5 years ago. In terms of science, that's fairly recent. And what they say is that it's to do with two different responses in the brain in reaction to something that's very cute or something that you find cute. Of course, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Different people find different things cute. But they studied, I think it was around 60 people's response to cute pictures, and they measured them with EEG caps. So they're looking at brain activity, and you were to classify what you find cute on a scale of 1 to 10. I don't quite know what they were looking at or quite what is cute and what is not cute. But all in all, at the end of the day, the response was said to be that the brain is offsetting between two different responses. So there's a response in the brain that you feel love, you're overwhelmed with cuteness, a baby lion. I mean, it's maybe related to dopamine. You see it, and this comes from the brain's emotional system. But then there's another system in the brain, the reward system. And this is said to regulate motivation and pleasure and feelings of wanting. So scientists basically suspect that cute aggression comes from coping with the overwhelming response that occurs between these two systems. And in order to sort of neutralize it, the brain tosses in a dash of aggression. So you have this overwhelming urge of cuteness, and you have this overwhelming emotional response with pleasure and happiness and cuteness, that in order to not be overwhelmed by this crazy amount of emotion that your brain is feeling, they throw in a dash of aggression. And that's why you feel this strange urge to squeeze. So it's a brain response, it's a neural response. Isn't that fascinating? The evolutionary drive, I'm not sure. I tried to research that. I don't think scientists actually know the evolutionary sort of reason behind it, why it occurs. But it's something in your brain that's offsetting this rush of emotion when you see something cute. So it's nothing you need to feel bad about. Brent, I have no idea. I would imagine it's relaxing. It's been a very cold night. When we found them, they were all huddled up, fighting against the cold. Only now are they enjoying the sun's warmth. They're sleepy. They're grooming. They're sleepy. They're just starting to bask in the sun. And I imagine they close their eyes because it's relaxing. Just like maybe when you soak in a bath, sometimes we close our eyes. Goodness, I've not had a bath in a long time. Oh, don't get me wrong, I do shower. But I mean, I've not actually been in a bath. Sorry, PK's laughing. I do shower. But I haven't been in a bathtub in a long time. Anyway, moving on. I've been imagining us to just do it. Feels pleasurable. Grooming yourselves, it's nice, it's relaxing, just like when we brush our hair. But I've also seen lions groom and keep their eyes open. That's my guess to that question, Brent. I think these lions are going to be sleepy all day. It's probably been a long night. They've probably walked great distances to keep the body warm, fight against the cold. And now it's time to get some vitamin D, warmth, and cat naps. Lions are the champions of cat naps. Fig, you're asking about fleas. Do lions get fleas? And yes, I believe that they do. I haven't seen any evidence of lions here with fleas, but I do believe that lions can get them. We see mange a lot out here. I think it would depend on what area the lion itself is actually in order to get the fleas. Of course, it's common in domesticated animals, such as your dogs and your cats at home. But yes, I believe lions can get fleas. It's not pleasant to see another organism suffering at the hands of a parasite or another organism in general. But fleas are said not to be host specific. So what this means is that they're not specific about what species they use. And therefore, they can jump on board any animal. But they are said to have favoured hosts. And I think this is more in domesticated animals such as dogs, cats, even pigs. And humans, of course. Humans can get fleas. But yes, they can. Can also get ticks as well. A lot of people get very grossed out by ticks, shall we say. But they're actually very fascinating organisms. Pulling ticks off my dog at home is not pleasant, but it's also something satisfying about it. We have this special tool, and there's a unique method in order to do it. You can't just pull. You have to clasp it in a special way and then twist before you pull, and to ensure that you get the entire tick removed from her skin. Oh, this is an interesting one. I am going to send you guys across to Marcel, who's ready for his fact of the day.
Good morning and welcome back to andBeyond Ngala. Eric is actually just quickly checking some tracks. And today I will share with you the oldest known surviving intact building. It's in France in the Brittany region, and that's Bornenes. It's actually a burial site. It's just over 70 meters long. It's a tunnel into a mound. And yeah, so I mean, that's the oldest building that we know of that's still standing. And this is not, I'm also not counting ruins as in walls or something. It's semi-fully intact. And then also a quote by T.E. Lawrence: "All men dream, but not equally. Those who dream by night in the dusty recesses of their minds wake by day to find that it was but vanity. But the dreamers of the day are dangerous men, for they may act their dreams with open eyes to see them possible." Thanks.
Thanks, Marcel. I don't know if Marcel told you, but one of the reasons why we stopped here is because of this big pile of scat that we can see in the road. And so this is basically the scat that got our attention, and it's from a female leopard, and there's still a lot of like shiny gloss to it, so it's relatively fresh, we think. And so yeah, we're going to probably just drive along the road here. The track's heading that way. They're still sticking on the road. We'll see if we can find anything. But in the meantime, we're going to send you across to James.
Well, unsurprisingly, this morning's form, we've got more elephants, but this time they're having a drink out of the riverbed here, which is quite fun. Isn't this fun? Much spraying of water all over the place. And more talking. It's so cool. There's bushes in the way, really, isn't it? I shouldn't try and sneak slightly forward. Maybe even there. Let me just move back a little bit because we're missing half the action. These guys are also nice and relaxed in comparison with the ones from earlier. How's that? Yep. Right. Alex, I absolutely still get adrenaline rushes when elephants get close to me. I probably get slightly less afraid than I used to, but I'm still get huge adrenaline rushes. Go ahead, yours. Your tracks of male lion on Ingwe Alley on Pangolin Track, going opposite directions, and then one crossing out on Weaver's Nest, having come south all the way from Junction Pangolin Track. So I don't know what's going on with that chap. Yeah, I think there's probably more than one that was knocking around here. I'm just updating the radio on the state of the male lion antics from last night, shall we say. You can hear our fan-tailed flycatcher there. Tree, tree. It's very cool to see them doing this. And you can hear a fly as well, apparently, yes. I actually don't.
It's a bee.
It's a bee. I'm going to get stinged. Do you remember when the African killer bee arrived in the Americas? And now they've got the murder hornet. Have you heard of the murder hornet that has now arrived from Japan, I think it is, in the US? Beach gull, appropriate name you have for this particular sighting. They feel the water moving, apparently, under their feet. So there's flowing water under this river, and I think they can just feel it. Either that, or rather like us, they just know where there's thick sand, you probably find some water if you dig. Just magical stuff. They love fresh, clean water, elephants, and despite the fact that there's so much water in all of the dams, this is the cleanest, purest water that they can get, and they'll choose this over any other kind. one doing a face plant there, and can you see him, Dave? Was this bush in the way? And drive very slightly forward. Yep. I believe you're all now talking about the murder hornet. It's just a rather typical, shall we say, media description of something. How can we make this thing sound as terrifying as humanly possible? Let's call it a murder hornet. Despite the fact that being murdered by it the chances of being murdered by it are almost infinitesimally small. Yes, they look almost like they've got ringworm with their mud sand spots. They got a fright from a big bull coming down. And the lovely call, the southern boo-boo there. Always reminds me of Christmas holidays. Indeed. Watch these guys climbing this bank. Anushka, it is true that elephants walk on the tips of their feet. By that, it's the tips of their phalangeal bones, as far as I'm aware. Same as any hoofed animal, or, I mean, they don't have hooves, but you know what I mean. That's very impressive climbing. Very sweet. And now it's lying down there, and now there's great consternation. The little ones are causing trouble. Now nobody knows why everyone's upset, or if there's a reason to be. You see, there I think is exactly what I was talking about. I'm not sure anyone was vaguely upset. I think it was just an expression of emotion. They love this playing around. There's a big cow now coming to tell everyone to go away. how good that hole is. She's probably going to have to dig it out again. All right, while we wait and see what she does, let's head back to Lauren and her lions.
My lions are still so snoozy. I'm not sure we're going to get to see them wake up. I've been hoping they're going to get up and all walk down the middle of the road. No off-roading. All the way to Gallagher and drink. But sadly, I think I have to accept that that's possibly not going to happen. Now, going back to mange. So it's called scabies in humans, but mange in wildlife. And I've already mentioned it goes through high number of species all through the orders, but I thought I would go a little bit deeper into that and the orders that they are actually found in. So mange has been documented in carnivora, which I'm sure many of you know is your carnivores, your flesh devourers, lions, leopards, all the animals that you get that eat other animals are your carnivores. Now it's also been recorded in Artiodactyla. Now that's the order, also known as your even-toed ungulates. So of course ungulates are your hooved mammals, and you will find the even-toed ones, giraffes for example, the perfect example of your even-toed, hippos, various antelopes, camels, llamas. It's found in that order. But not only that, it's also found in the odd-toed ungulate order, which is Perissodactyla. And that's all these organisms that have odd toes. So it's been recorded in those orders. Also Lagomorpha. Now Lagomorpha is your rabbits and hares. They're your main species or your main sort of organisms that you'll find in Lagomorpha. It's been recorded quite extensively. Also recorded in Pinnipeda. That is your seals, everyone. Yes, pinnipeds, commonly known as seals. You can find mange, which I think is rather unusual. Rodentia, you will also find mange. Rodentia is your rodents, the ones that have continually growing incisor teeth that never stop. That's what makes rodents, and you will find mange. Hyracoidea. Now, Hyracoidea is mainly your hyraxes or your dassies, and you will find mange in this order. And lastly, but not least, Diprodonta. Now, this is an order that basically means your two forward teeth. So this will include your likes of marsupials. So kangaroos, wallabies, koalas, wombats. Mange has hit Australian wildlife quite extensively as well. There's lots of papers that you can read on mange and its effect on the various different wildlife in Ausland. So that's all the different orders that it's at least been recorded in, as well as Insectivora. Yes, Insectivora, can you believe it? Mange has been recorded, and primates. And this is mange, not scabies. So your primates can also get it too. So this is sort of all the scientific documentation of the different orders with species that can suffer from mange, I'm afraid. The cubs definitely do have it, but it's definitely not as severe as I have seen before. So hopefully, these little inkahumas are going to be absolutely perfectly fine. We're going to stay here for the remainder of drive. There's not too long to go, but we are going to send you guys all the way back across to Eric to see what he has for you.
We came down to the riverbed to see if we could find any tracks or signs of that leopardess that we saw the scat of. And we saw these 4 kudus, and it's quite special to see kudus so out in the open. And they've been quite wary, so they've been looking around, and at one point they were looking back upriver, so to the right of where they are now, and they all were staring intently, and we thought that maybe they could have spotted a predator, but unfortunately it was just a common duiker that crossed the river in the distance. And so since they worked it out that it wasn't a threat, they slowly but surely crossing the river and probably heading up towards those banks to try and feed. There's a young male here. I think he's the second one now. There you go, that's him. And his horns are really cool because they are perfectly in line with its ears. And those huge ears, just obviously to help out listening and trying to make sure that they can hear as much potential danger as possible. And another way that they try and reduce their noise, there's baboons that are making chaos, so we can see if we can try and see them shortly. But I just would like you to watch their legs for a little bit and see how they step, because it's so nice out in the open. You get to see exactly the way that they plant their feet. And they do this thing what is known as registering. So basically the front foot lands and then the back foot lands in exactly the same spot. And that's a way of just reducing their noise levels by maybe about 50%, I guess. So it allows them to make less noise for predators not to hear them, and then also they get to hear more. They're not making so much noise themselves. You see that one that's walking there is a nice example of it. So make a footprint, back foot lands in exactly the same spot.
It's amazing how well synchronized it is.
Yeah, and Marcel's just commenting on how well it's synchronized. And so, I mean, as soon as that back foot is ready to drop down, the front foot moves. Oh, butterfly, that furry hump is really cool. It's in males, one of my favorite things is just the thickness of their neck, and that hump is a lot more exaggerated on males. The kudus are really cool, and it's nice to see them out in the open. You often just see kind of half of the body. You don't see the whole body, and especially just watching them move. They don't like to be out in the open too much. They prefer the much more dense habitats. But I've actually just spotted the troop of baboons, which is always quite a fun thing to watch. They're right up in the tree there. There's one. There's a couple. One scratching the side of its face. Yeah, it's amazing. Until they made a noise, I actually didn't see them there. They were all just moving along quite quietly. But it does look like something is of interest in the tree. Looks like a few of them are feeding on some of the leaves. It looks like there's some berries there. Yeah, how many baboons can you fit in one tree? And each, it seems like there's a few ones that have got their own branches, and they are just eating as much as they can. Here's one. Also, I think it's the second one or the third one from the top that's facing us. Yeah, I think we're watching the same one. No, the one above it. So go above it one more. There's one that's literally got, he's got leaves in both hands, and it's just eating one bite left hand, one bite right hand, and it's just going and going and going. So it's really trying to eat as much as possible. These are, I'm sure it's a jackalberry tree. So I think we might stick around these baboons and see if they come down into the riverbed. But in the meantime, we're going to send you across to James.
We're still here with our elephants, just 3 left now. This one chap right in front of us on the left there has been standing in the same place since you were last with us, drinking and drinking and drinking. And I was just saying to David, I'm pretty sure that they must get a lot of sand in their mouths, but obviously it's not something that bugs them profoundly. Kylie, I think they do get sand up their trunks, and I guess they just blow it out slowly. That's enough now, have we? Move over for my friend. And now a little climb. Up you get. Oh, and a dump while we climb, that's always a good idea. Well done. And an eat. Climb, feed and dump. Oh, and also after all that water. Delightful. Have you quite finished relieving yourself? He's now got himself perched on a very precarious little precipice. Well done. Good climbing. And now I think the other two will join him. Although they might choose a slightly easier route up the bank. This is definitely the best drinking hole. This one here that this chap stopped at. There he goes. He's climbed totally onto the top. Now the other chap, gone. And now this chap will do the same. Up over the big log. Well done. Keep going. Yes, we are watching. Come on, up you get. That's it. Well done. Oh. Made it. And now he's going to have his dump at the top. Is he? That was great. What a very nice thing to witness on our little safari. Right, we have a minute left of safari. I'm not sure if you're going to look at my mug for a minute, or maybe the elephant will reappear. No, I think it's going to be entirely my mug. So you're just going to stare at me slightly awkwardly for 60 seconds, unless David can find us something particularly impressive to look at. No, there aren't any really interesting trees. I suppose we could do the pumpkin flower. Or you can stay on me, I don't really mind. So you think we should stay here for the awkward 30 seconds? I'll now give my Oscar speech. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for your questions and comments. Thank you to the Djuma Pride for making the effort to arrive here. Thank you to all the elephants. We'll see you this afternoon at 1500 hours. Until then, stay safe and happy. Bye-bye.